You know that crushing, can't breathe feeling of exam pressure? What if I told you that you could actually turn it into your greatest advantage? Well, we're about to break down an incredible story of someone who went from a massive failure to a stunning success. And get this, it wasn't by studying harder, it was by completely rewiring their brain. And it all starts right here with a feeling I'm sure so many of us know, that glowing screen just staring back at you, showing a score that feels like a slap in the face after all the work you've put in. It's that universal moment of doubt, And it's the rock bottom foundation this whole transformation is built on. And this was the number that just made it all painfully real, an 85th percentile on the CAT. For anyone who doesn't know, that's a notoriously tough graduate entrance exam in India. After months and months of work, a score like this is just a total gut punch. Seriously, it's the kind of number that makes you question everything. But here's the twist. This is the crucial turning point. The author realized that pulling more all-nighters, grinding through more practice problems, that wasn't the answer. The real bottleneck, the thing that was really holding them back, was all in their head. The key wasn't academic, it was mental. So, this mental unlock, it came in 3 parts. And the very first one was figuring out this trap that, honestly, almost all of us fall into without even realizing it. It's called the fixed goal trap. Just think about it for a second. How many times have you said to yourself, I just need to get a 90 on this test? It sounds like a smart goal, right? But it's actually a really fragile strategy. You're basically preparing for one single perfect scenario. But what happens when the test is way harder than you thought? Or, hey, what if it's way easier? Okay, so this slide just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the left side, the fixed score mindset. If that paper is harder than you planned for, you panic. Your whole strategy goes out the window. And if it's easier, you might hit your target score and just coast, leaving a ton of easy points on the table. But now look at the fix, the maximum effort mindset. With this, you completely ignore the final score. You just focus on one thing, the question right in front of you. Your performance just naturally scales to the paper's difficulty, which is exactly where you want to be. All right, so once you've ditched that fixed score goal, a new challenge pops up. What do you do when a practice test goes horribly, horribly wrong? And that brings us to the second big trap, letting one bad mock exam completely derail your entire preparation. Wow, this quote just hits, doesn't it? You're a week out from the big day. You're supposed to be at your peak, feeling confident, and then, bam, a score that just shatters your confidence. It's that moment that can undo months of hard work just by planting that tiny seed of doubt at the absolute worst possible time. So how in the world do you bounce back from that? Well, you don't just ignore it, you actually process it, and there's this brilliant 4-step method for doing exactly that. First, just acknowledge the feeling. It's totally normal to feel awful. Let yourself feel it. Second, see it for what it is, a simulation. You just face down a possible worst-case scenario. And third, this is the genius part, you reframe it. You turn it into a win. Why? Because you've now experienced a disaster in a totally safe environment and you learned from it. You basically just dodged a bullet on the real exam. And finally, step 4, you take the lesson, you leave the emotion behind, and you move on. And that brings us to the third trap, which is honestly the biggest, most fundamental mindset shift of them all. This is the one that gets to the very core of where all that crippling pressure comes from in the first place. And this right here brings us right back to that initial failure, that 85th percentile. Where did that really come from? It came from this exact thought process, the belief that my entire life depends on this one exam. Can you imagine? That is just an impossible amount of pressure to perform under. And as we see, the result was a performance way, way below what they were actually capable of. So the solution is this really radical reframe. It's about changing your entire definition of what winning even means. The victory isn't the score you get on a piece of paper. The real victory is the person you became while you were preparing for it. Think about it, all those hours of discipline, all the new things you learned, the persistence, that's the real prize. And guess what? You already have it. And this quote, this was the author's final thought right before their successful attempt. And man, it is so powerful. I have compounded on myself. It's like investing in yourself. It's this beautiful acknowledgement of self-growth that is completely separate from whatever the exam result is. This creates a state of mind where you can just perform freely because you've already locked in the most important victory. So, what happens when you put all of this together? When you combine these 3 huge mindset shifts? You escape the traps, You learn to reframe the disasters, and you totally redefine what it even means to win. The result? A complete and total transformation. And this is the key insight right here. The goal isn't just to handle pressure better, it's to get rid of it completely. By changing the underlying beliefs that create that pressure in the first place, you don't just cope with it, you make it disappear. And in that empty space where the pressure used to be, your true potential is finally unlocked. So with all that pressure just gone, what happened? What was the final result of this huge mental shift? Well, they went from an 85th percentile to a 99.9th percentile. Now, that's not just an improvement, that is a straight-up transformation. It is the ultimate proof that the real exam was never the one on paper. It was the one happening inside their mind. So let's boil this all down into your key takeaways. Number 1, respect the process. All that work you did matters. 2, trust your growth. You are already better than when you started. 3, start seeing the final exam as just another practice run, maybe even a fun mock. And finally, internalize this fundamental truth. You have absolutely nothing to lose because you've already won the most important part. So, this final question, it really isn't just about exams, is it? It's about pretty much everything. The next time you're facing a huge hurdle, just ask yourself this. What if my real goal here isn't to win, but to grow? What could you unlock if you truly believed that?